Hey everyone, welcome back. Ready for another deep dive?
Absolutely.
Awesome. Today we are taking a trip to the planet Arrakis to explore the world of Dune.
Sounds exciting.
It is. This sci-fi epic has got everything. Giant sandworms, political intrigue, and philosophical questions that'll really make you think.
It's true. Dune really is more than just your typical sci-fi adventure.
Right. And we're going to break down exactly why it's considered such a landmark novel.
Should we start with the planet itself?
Yeah. Arrakis is a fascinating place.
It really is unique.
So different from those generic planets you see in other stories.
Oh, definitely.
This one feels so real.
Frank Herbert put so much thought into crafting this world.
Yeah, the world building in Dune is on another level.
That's what makes it stand out.
This article we have here says that Arrakis is practically a character in itself.
I would agree.
With the giant sandworms, the spice, and the harsh environment, it really drives the story.
It provides the stakes.
Exactly. So how does this all work together? What's the deal with this spice everyone keeps talking about?
Well, spice is essentially the most valuable substance in the galaxy.
Oh, wow.
It's the key to interstellar travel and has these powerful effects on human lifespans.
So whoever controls the spice controls the galaxy,
You could say that.
which is where Arrakis comes in.
Exactly.
It's the only place in the universe where this spice is found, right?
Making it a very contested planet.
No kidding. Talk about a harsh environment, A&D, political turmoil.
It creates this incredibly tense atmosphere throughout the story.
You've got these different factions all vying for power. The Emperor, the Landsraad, the Bene Gesserit,
And of course, House Atreides, who are given control of Arrakis at the start of the story.
which is essentially throwing them to the wolves, right?
A very dangerous position to be in.
The article mentioned the Bene Gesserit are like this shadowy group manipulating things from the sidelines.
They're a fascinating bunch.
What's their deal exactly?
They're a secretive order of women with incredible mental powers and their own agenda for humanity.
Like a chess game on a galactic scale, with them making all these strategic moves behind the scenes.
That's a great way to put it.
So how does Paul Atreides fit into all of this? He's the young heir of House Atreides, right?
That's right.
The article pointed out that Paul is set up as this chosen one figure, but he's not your typical hero.
Definitely not.
He seems more complex than that.
Paul's journey is one of the most captivating aspects of Dune.
So it's not just a simple story about a hero fulfilling a destiny.
Not at all. Paul's arc delves into much deeper themes of choice, responsibility, and the burden of leadership.
Interesting. So tell me more about Paul.
Well, he's thrust into this world of danger and intrigue at a very young age.
Forced to grow up fast, I imagine.
Exactly. He's constantly faced with difficult decisions, each with enormous consequences.
Sounds intense.
It is, and one of the biggest challenges he faces is dealing with the Fremen.
The native people of Arrakis.
Right.
I remember reading that they have a unique connection to the planet and the sandworms.
Very spiritual connection.
And Paul is somehow caught between the Fremen, his own heritage, and this prophecy that paints him as their savior.
Which raises a lot of questions about fate versus free will.
Right. Is he truly in control of his destiny, or is he just playing a part in a much larger plan?
And if he is the chosen one, what does that even mean?
It's like he's being pulled in all these different directions.
Exactly. And that internal conflict makes him such a compelling character.
So it's less about him becoming some all-powerful hero and more about how he navigates this complex web of power, responsibility, and self-discovery.
You hit the nail on the head.
Wow, Dune is really shaping up to be something special.
Oh, we're just getting started. The Fremen are a great example of Herbert's skill as a writer.
Yeah, what other author would think to give their characters special suits just to recycle their sweat?
Right. The still suits are iconic.
Totally. But they make a good point. On Arrakis, every drop of moisture is precious.
Exactly. And the Fremen have built their entire culture around that fact.
I mean, can you imagine having rituals for collecting the water of someone who's died?
It sounds a bit morbid to us, but it shows how important water is to their survival.
Makes you think about how much we take it for granted.
It really does.
So tell me more about their connection to the sandworms.
Well, the Fremen see the sandworms as more than just creatures. They're almost like deities to them.
Right. The article mentioned something about a sandworm being like a god to them.
Yeah, they call it Shai Hulud, and it's central to their religious beliefs.
I have to admit, those sandworms scared me as a kid.
Oh, I can imagine they are pretty intimidating.
But now I'm realizing they're not just there to be scary monsters. They're an important part of the ecosystem, right?
Absolutely. They're intertwined with the spice cycle in this fascinating way.
See, this is what I love about Dune. Herbert thought of everything.
He really did, and it's that attention to detail that makes the world so believable.
And the fact that the sandworms are connected to the production of spice adds this whole other layer to the conflict.
Of course. Whoever controls the sandworms, to some extent, controls the spice.
It's not just about political power then, it's about ecology and survival.
Exactly. Herbert weaves all of these elements together seamlessly.
Speaking of layers, the article mentioned that Dune also deals with some pretty heavy philosophical themes.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Like, what kind of big ideas are we talking about here?
Well, one of the central themes is fate versus free will.
Oh, like with Paul and this whole chosen one prophecy.
Exactly. He's wrestling with his predetermined path and whether he has any real agency.
That's a question a lot of people grapple with, even outside of science fiction.
Absolutely. It's a universal human dilemma.
And then you've got the Bene Gesserit, manipulating bloodlines for generations.
Trying to control the future of humanity with the best of intentions, supposedly.
But is it ever right to control someone else's destiny, even for the greater good?
That's the question Herbert forces us to confront.
It makes you wonder, are good intentions enough to justify those kinds of actions?
It's a moral gray area, and Dune doesn't shy away from those tough questions.
That's what I appreciate about it. It's not just a fun adventure. It makes you think critically about power, ethics, and the choices we make.
It challenges our assumptions and leaves us with more questions than answers.
Which I think is a sign of truly great science fiction.
Absolutely.
So the article mentions that Dune has had a huge influence on other sci-fi works, even some that seem pretty different on the surface, like Star Wars.
Yes, the parallels are definitely there if you look closely.
I'll admit, I was skeptical at first, but now I'm curious, how does Dune connect to a galaxy far, far away?
Yeah, like at first glance, you've got lightsabers and spaceships in one, and then giant sandworms and still suits in the other.
It does seem like a bit of a stretch.
But the article makes some interesting points.
It's the themes and the overall feel that connect them, I think.
Okay, so like what specifically? What are some of those connections we might not pick up on at first?
Well, for one, the desert planet setting. Tatooine in Star Wars and Arrakis in Dune both shape their respective stories. Oh, right. They're both crucial to the plot.
And then there's the whole idea of a chosen one, someone who's deeply connected to a mystical power.
Luke Skywalker and the Force, Paul Atreides and the Spice.
Exactly. And both of those powers are kind of nebulous, with the ability to influence the mind and the fate of entire civilizations.
You've also got these secretive orders with their own agendas, the Jedi and the Bene Gesserit.
Both wield a lot of influence from the shadows.
It's like Dune established this blueprint for epic storytelling in sci-fi.
It showed that you could have grand adventures with spaceships and aliens, but also explore deeper themes.
Like the nature of power, the dangers of blind faith, even our relationship with the environment.
Those themes resonate even more strongly today.
Right. It's like Dune was ahead of its time.
It really was, and its influence extends far beyond Star Wars.
So what is it about Dune that still grabs people decades later?
It's the timeless questions it asks.
About humanity, power, ecology.
Exactly. Those questions are just as relevant today as they were back then.
It's a reminder that even in a galaxy far, far away, we're still grappling with the same human struggles.
And that the choices we make today shape the future.
Well said. I think that's a good place to leave it for today. Big thanks to our expert for sharing their insights.
My pleasure.
And to our listeners, thanks for joining us on this deep dive into Dune. It's a story that stays with you long after you finish the last page.
Or watch the last scene.
Right. And with so much more to uncover, we encourage you to keep exploring the world of Dune for yourselves. Until next time.